GMFB. Okay. We've got James Slater, Sean O'Hara in for Kyle Brandt and Nate Burleson. Let's start with this, guys. There's always a hodgepodge of topics. We don't quite know how to cram into the rundown, so that's why we have this segment. And we start with this. When asked about his impression of rookie wide receiver Rashad Bateman at minicamp, Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said he is as advertised from a talent standpoint. I want to know which rookie you think will live up to expectations that we were throwing around and juicing for months on our program every morning, Peter. Who's going to live up to it?
We had to pump that well. We had to add intrigue to the NFL draft. Well, now that they're drafted, they've got to actually do something. They can't just be great talk about topics. They've got to actually go out and do it. And I think Jalen Phillips in Miami is going to go out and do it. He was the first pass rusher taken in the NFL draft. He fell all the way to 18. And oh my gosh, did he have a great breakout pro day. And I know you say, well, that means nothing. It's literally a guy in shorts running. But the way people talked about the Jalen Phillips pro day within the NFL, it made me think this guy might have gone top 10. So he goes to 18 to Miami, and why is that such a good place? Oh, well, I don't know. He's going with Brian Flores on that defense where they're going to know a way to use him and set him free. I think Phillips is a really interesting player this season. A lot of expectations on the Dolphins, and all eyes point to the offense. The defense needs to step up as well. Got rid of Kyle Van Noy, got rid of a couple other players, Bryce McCain and others. Now we have a youth movement, and Jalen Phillips might be that guy. I mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago. Classically trained piano player. His grandfather went to Juilliard when he was 11 years old. His father is the dean, or his grandfather's the dean of music at Lynn, the school down there in Florida. Like, this is a different cat than just football. He's an interesting player, but I think he's going to make an incredible impact in year one for the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Phillips, I'm going to put this out there. 10 sacks his rookie year. And that's a lot of sacks for a rookie.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with probably Trevor Lawrence. You guys, we were talking about this. Speaking of silence, we haven't spoke about Trevor Lawrence as much as we probably would have been speaking about him if he had gone to the Jets. We had all sort of talked about this in one of the breaks. But I think the one thing that stood out to me the most about Trevor Lawrence was you often hear so much about these players, but when you actually get to meet them, this was one of the players that to me was as advertised, if not better. A guy that married the girl that he's known since middle school, the guy that went and got surgery on the arm early because Urban Meyer asked him to, a guy that's coming to a place like Jacksonville that now has a coach that is going to be able to adapt this offense to fit his skill set based on what he was running in college and, of course, adapt that to the NFL. And I also love when you were talking to Dabo Sweeney at his pro day, Dabo told me the one thing that stood out about him is with a lot of these players and they're, scouting them early. He scouted him when he was a freshman. And he said it was Trevor Lawrence who picked up the phone and said, Coach, I'm coming, like pretty nonchalantly, never asked him who's in front of me, when am I going to get to start? And then, of course, he came in mid-season of his rookie year and did what he did. And so I think obviously the expectation for any quarterback is to go to a Super Bowl. I think that's a little bold to predict, but I think that what he's going to do, the expectation is to turn this into a winning program. And I think that he can do that in year one.
Yeah, listen, I love talking about these rookies and their impact they're going to have on the NFL because the game has certainly changed. There's no longer are you coming in as a rookie and biding your time. They're expecting you to make an immediate impact. And for me, it's Jamar Chase. Now, I'm curious to see how him opting out last year and not playing, that combined with the virtual offseason that they're going through and probably some limited time in training camp now possibly. I'm curious how that aspect can be overcome and how he can knock that rust off. But when you look at what Jamar Chase did in college with Joe Burrow, who he's reunited with, obviously, the production, his physical ability, that catch readiness right there that you're seeing, his ability to make those wow plays, that's not going to change. That doesn't change when you get to the NFL. And as a receiver, the ability to make an impact. It's like going from college basketball to the NBA. That rim is still 10 feet high. Nothing has changed. Yeah, the three-point line may be a little bit further back, but none of that has changed. The same thing for being a wide receiver and with Jamar Chase. I think when you look at what he's going to bring to this offense, what Joe Burrow did with T. Higgins last year, a rookie, and with Tyler Boyd, this is going to be an unbelievable three wide receiver core right here. And I think for Jamar Chase, when you look at the touchdowns that he scored, 20 touchdowns in his final season, 14 of them were on big plays, deep throws. That's something that he's going to be able to bring with him to the Bengals, and I think that's going to be a huge aspect of it. When you think about the production, just wrap your head around this, guys. He didn't even play football last year, and yet he still had more receiving touchdowns in the last 2 seasons than any receiver in college football.
Sean,
pretty good.
I got to tell you, I'm happy to hear you saying this, that he's going to live up to expectations, because the burden of expectations are heightened. That's not his fault where he was drafted into who, but they did not take an offensive lineman. You are an offensive lineman lover here on the program. So I think there are heightened expectations. Jamar Chase better bring it. That connection better be real and successful and carry over from the LSU days, because they did not take a Penei Sewell. They did not take a Rashawn Slater to protect Burrow. Those are the choices, right? Let's protect him and take the responsible pick, or let's shoot for the moon and get him the exciting, dynamic wide receiver to go along T. Higgins. I like that they're getting your sign of approval in him making a play here, because if Burrow can't stay upright and they can't protect him, it's going to be very connected to Jamar Chase and what he's able to do out there. All right, let's talk Steelers here. Their rookie running back, who we love on the show, Najee Harris. He was showing it off all weekend, of course, rookie minicamp, and he said, quote, "I'm going to be utilized everywhere." He was on our show talking about how he can catch, and we better not forget it. So I ask you guys, who do you think is the most versatile player in the NFL, Shregs? Give me something good.
You know, part of me wanted to go an Alvin Kamara or a Lamar Jackson or one of these guys that can do it all from any position. I'm going to go with Pat Ricard. Do you guys know who Pat Ricard is? Pat Ricard is the only player in the NFL who plays defense and offense and does it regularly. Plays defensive tackle for the Ravens on certain packages and plays fullback on a lot more. He is such a force on both sides of the ball that to me is still versatile. Yes, Deebo Samuel can run the ball 40 times in a game or catch the ball 15 times in a game. But can he do this? Can he catch the ball and then also stuff a running back up the gut? I asked our research department to put together the numbers. Give me real versatility. Give me the guys in the last 2 years with 20 plus offensive or defensive snaps. Patrick Ricard leads the way by a bunch. The former Maine Black Bear, he sets the tone for Baltimore. They are a smash mouth team. He is as smash mouth as it gets. So I'm going to say, as much as I love the exotic packages on offense where the wide receiver lines up out in the backfield and the running back catches 150 balls, give me fullback and defensive tackle, Pat Ricard. Project Pat, I see you.
Well, I would argue most versatile player at his position, because if you're playing multiple different positions, then maybe you aren't so dynamic at your particular position. But most versatile at his position would be Christian McCaffrey. And I say that because there's only 3 players in NFL history that have 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing in a season, and that's that guy right there. Also durable until 2019, or until last season. So in 2019, when you look at what he was able to accomplish, 19 touchdowns, he's the guy that I want at that position. He's physical, he's versatile, great team player, and I think we're going to expect big things from him this season as well.
Jane, you're going with the old slogan, jack of all trades, master of none, and I respect that. I think Shreg's giving a little love to Pat Ricard. Man, I'm having flashbacks of little Danny Klecko, the Temple Owl, son of Joe Klecko, the Jet great, doing it on both sides, catching touchdown pass, did it for the Colts, did it for the Patriots. So I love you giving those big guys a shout out. All right, so since we're talking jack of all trades here, is there anybody more versatile than Taysom Hill? Look,
no.
Pat, all right, Project Pat. How about the Taysom Hill project down in New Orleans? Look, all these other players, yeah, we've had offensive players and defensive players and two-way players and all these guys. None of them have also lined up at quarterback and played the entire game as a quarterback. And then the next week they're lined up at running back and receiver. And then, oh, by the way, when we don't get that third down, yeah, I'm also the personal protector on the punt team, so I've got to call out, red or blue, depending on what kind of punt rush they're coming after us with. So I think what Taysom Hill brings to the Saints, it's three-dimensional, and I think that his ability, they're still finding new ways for him to impact the team, not just the offense. It's special teams. Yeah, he doesn't play defense, but technically special teams is a part of the defense. I think with all these number changes that everybody's having, maybe they should give Taysom Hill the 00. And I think Otto Graham wore that back in the day when he was a two-way player.
At GMFB with your thoughts, with the facts this morning, coming in hot on the mish-mosh Monday, Sean O'Hara. All right, last one here. This is so random. Who came up with this? Today is former Late Show host Craig Ferguson. He's wild. I've met him before. 59th birthday today. Who is your favorite talk show host of all time? Peter, give me Sally, Jesse, Raphael.
That was random.
Sally, Jesse. First of all, I love the red glasses. Love it. Love Richard Bay. Love so many others. I'm going to go with Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien is my humor. It hit me in such a way as a teenager and in college watching Conan. This guy is everything you want in a late night host. He's irreverent, he's a good interviewer, and he breaks the fourth wall all the time. Everyone now, I feel like, is just so angry at politics and just comes on and gives you lectures at night. And then they're apologizing for said lectures or for some guests that they had on that they shouldn't have had on. I don't know. Conan is Conan, and he's been Conan forever. He's self-deprecating. I love Conan. I love when Paul Rudd goes on Conan and they show the clip from Mac and Me every single time. There's like running jokes that go back 20 years. Conan O'Brien. I love Conan. He's my favorite late night host. And all due respect to Craig Ferguson, especially on his 59th birthday.
Paul Rudd would be a really great late night talk show host. I don't know any guy that doesn't like him or any woman that doesn't like Paul Rudd. He's so relatable. He's got so many friends.
Good likability.
I think he'd be great. But I think Netflix has sort of changed the way we watch late night television. So if I've got to go with one, I'm not a big late night talk show host guy, but I would come for the segments, stay for the music. It's Jimmy Fallon for me. I always love seeing him collaborate. Him and Justin Timberlake have always been one of my favorites. But yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna have to pick one, probably gonna have to go with the boy Jimmy Fallon.
All right, well, clearly, look, we're all going with the late talk show host of all time. Otherwise, Shregs would have gone Jerry Springer, no doubt, and I would have co-signed on it with Big Steve, because everybody loved it when Steve came out to get somebody.
Wilkos.
Listen, I'm going David Letterman, and, you know, maybe we're showing different age demographics here, but Letterman, you know, obviously it was the late show, but to stay up late for his top 10 list was something that I struggled to do at times. And it's like, you know what, it's definitely worth it. His top 10 list was always kind of the crescendo of the show for me. And I thought delivery is always key. If you're going to be
Pat Riley,
a great show host, especially on one
Drew
of those
Barrymore
shows,
was a great
you gotta have
guest. Remember
delivery.
that one?
Letterman always had that. He's got a great beard now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shregs, did you ever go to
Barrymore's
any
good.
of the tapings of any of the late shows growing up in New York?
I did.
Which
I
one?
did. I went to
I went to
Conan a
Letterman
few
once.
times.
TV on the radio was performing.
Did you go see Letterman? Yeah. Letterman, I never saw Letterman, saw Conan, and it was amazing. The studio was this big. I was so shocked. It was so small and it was so intimate. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Conan's
Love
sneaky
it.
tall,
At GMFB
too.
with your thoughts. That's Mish